have it.
Okay,
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to start our meeting. I'd like to officially call to order the Madison County Planning Commission business session for Tuesday, March 18th, 2025 to order and ask for a roll call.
Mary Alford.
Here.
Doug Fritz.
Here.
Kenny Payne.
Here.
Bill Buchanan.
Here.
Brian Adams.
Here.
Shannon Renfro. Robert Farmer.
Here, the workshop, we do have a quorum, and first order of business is approval of the minutes. Everyone should. Yeah, I've done that all. Thank you, Dr. Ryan. Everyone should receive a copy of minutes in the packet for February the 18th, 2025. Is there any corrections or conditions as received? If not, then a motion be in order.
Approved.
One to approve,
Second.
and second, any further discussion? Not will have a vote.
Brian Adams.
Yes.
Bill Buchanan. Mary Alford. Doug Fritz.
Yes.
Shannon Payne.
Yes.
Robert Farmer.
Yes. Next on our agenda is preliminary subdivision plan for Callaway at Winsboro Road. Margaret will bring us up for the work session.
We have a few items from the work session. One, I like to put it on bigger paper, but I still don't see your screen details, your dot boots and everything, your table. Did I miss it?
Yeah, it's okay.
No, I'm talking about your C12, your C13.
Oh, that's on that other. We got another sheet for that one. They all.
I'm gonna bring that to you.
Yeah, I'll bring it to you when you get to it.
You're ready.
I'll see.
I think that was, everything else that I had on my list, was good. I think there's still a little bit of question about the final selection on the street names. We're still working with the developer and 911 to get those confirmed, but we'll have those on there by the time we get the city.
Okay.
I mean, obviously, we need the signatures.
Sorry, you have any, that's all you have. Any commission members have any comments or concerns?
So we're ready to go for it?
If not, then I'll open the floor for a motion.
Motion to approve the subdivision plat for Callaway at Winsboro Road pursuant to doing all the signatures.
Okay, a motion approved on obtaining the signatures and the second for motion. I'll second. And a motion is second. Further discussion? If not, we'll have a vote.
Mary Alford.
Yes.
Doug Fritz.
Yes.
Shannon Payne.
Yes.
Brian Adams.
Yes.
Bill Buchanan.
Yes.
Robert Farmer.
Yes.
Thank you.
Next on our agenda is the land use change for College Hill Road, Pike Road, this last work.
Yeah, these are the tracks that are involved in this. These three tracks right here. I think it's totally about 69 acres, somewhere thereabouts. Y'all might recognize this property as become city once before back in 22, 23. Exactly when that was, but President Gordon's representing African Underfield. Filling in on all those details. Preston, you want to come on up?
You're doing a pretty good job, sir.
Mr. Wood, you have any testimony I can go down and swear in?
Yes, sir. Bruce, would you mind coming up? Bruce coming up, Preston Worley, your career law firm on behalf of African College Hill Investments, who's the owner of the property. This is Bruce Cope. Bruce, you let the chairman swear you in.
Okay, please raise your right hand. Swear to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God. Thanks, sir. Please state your name and address for the record.
Bruce Cope, 599 Kindred Lane, Rio, Kentucky. Before I ask Bruce a few questions, just to see, you first mentioned that this property came to you. I have in my mind it was a year ago. I think actually it's about 2 years ago, as things have gone through the process. But a very similar proposal was put forward to you, is to take these three tracts that are around 70 acres and zone, UC1 for single-family residential, similar to what's directly across the street at Waco Heights. This body, I believe without objection, recommended approval to the fiscal court, for that zone change. That is substantially similar to what's here in front of you. The fiscal court, for their reasons, denied, and didn't follow your own recommendation. I believe concerns were related to some traffic, raised particularly by Magistrate Tudor, and we'll address some of those today. But I will put to you that this is still in conformance with your comprehensive plan, that this body approved and recommended approval, and that nothing has changed. And that again, this body should recommend approval as this low-density, single-family development within your urban corridor is what your comprehensive plan suggests. But we'll get into that a little bit more as we go along. We'll establish a little proof here. Bruce, are you the member of the owner here, College Hill Investments? All right, and I'm looking here. Is this the property as identified right here? That we're showing you the same that Bert just identified to them. And you're familiar with that property? Yes, sir. Tell me, have you been familiar, are you a builder here in town? And are you familiar with building in this area?
I am.
Tell me how.
We built several houses in Waco Heights, and been building here for 37 years in Madison.
And in those 37 years and having been built in this community, are you satisfied that this property is suitable for single-family residential development?
Yes, I am.
And are you satisfied that the market will bear, that this property will be good for single-family development?
Yes, sir.
All right, let me show you this similar map here. Again, that's your property there, correct?
Yes.
And this is the coloring is the various different zoning, and I just want to point out that across the street there, that is Waco Heights subdivision, that's single-family residential directly across the street.
Yes, it is.
All right, I do want to point out though that your street frontage here is somewhat narrow, correct?
Yes.
And that the majority of your proposed development would likely be further back away from College Hill Road. Bruce, let me show you, what I put to you is the future land use map of the Madison County Comprehensive Plan. You see that? And you see that would be your property right there. You see that the coloring of that property, it shows the yellow there, that is Waco Heights, single family residential is the recommended zone for that property, correct?
Yes, sir.
Your property here has a blue mixed use zoning as shown on the map, correct?
Yes.
As you understand that mixed use could be a mix of commercial and residential.
Yes.
Would you also see that this black line here, you recognize that as the urban corridor boundary?
Yes.
And so that all of your property, or substantially all your property is within the urban corridor?
Yes, it is.
Thank you. Bruce, in looking at the developability of this land, did you ask Madison County Sanitation District to let you know that water capacity would be available, Madison County Utilities District and Madison County Sanitation District? Did you ask both of them whether water would have substantial capacity and whether, if you chose to sewer this property, it would have sewer capacity?
Yes.
Are these letters from both of those utilities that say that there's water and sewer capacity available to come to this property?
Yes.
Now, obviously I say that, but as you look at your concept and you do your development, of course you bring water, but you'll still be determining whether this is appropriate for sewer or septic as you do your design.
Yes, sir.
But if possible, you'd like to sewer it if you could. Okay. Thank you. Is he walking in? Look at that, right on time. Mr. Beckton, come on. McIntosh, come on up. If you'd be sworn, I'm sorry to put you on the spot here.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Yes, sir. Mark McIntosh. I'm with Vision Engineering in Lexington at 128 East Reynolds Road.
Okay, please raise your right hand. Swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. Go ahead, Mr. Worthing.
Mark, thanks for coming. You say you were employed with Vision Engineering, and what capacity is Vision Engineering?
As a transportation engineer.
So you are a traffic engineer, and were you asked by this developer to prepare traffic impact studies related to this proposed development?
Yes.
So I'm going to hit the highlights, and then Mr. McIntosh will be available for questions after the fact. But a few things that I'd like to point out, since we are still at this point just at the zone change stage, but I do want to address traffic and that we're paying attention to that as we move forward towards your hopeful development plan with you all. And then, of course, our discussions with the fiscal court. When you look at this potential development, both north and southbound on College Hill Road, it exceeds the minimum sightline distance of 250 feet. Is that correct?
Right.
And as proposed, the intersection would have an acceptable school level service of C. Is that correct? An unsignalized intersection?
Yes.
But and that is what the state highway traffic engineer would consider that to be an acceptable level of service.
Right. Yeah, it's school grade.
School grade. Okay, thank you. Based on your study, did you determine whether turn lanes would be warranted, or whether this would be such minimal impact to the street that they would not be turn lane warranted?
Yeah, we use the Kentucky Highway Department turn lane warrants, and the right and left are not warranted.
All right, and then when you look at the level of service of that road, I believe you looked at it from the intersection of Highway 52 and then going northbound past the proposed development. Is that correct?
Correct.
And it's your determination that even at peak AM and peak PM hours of increased traffic from this development, that the level of service would be materially unchanged. Is that correct?
Right, it's minimum. No, actually, was out there doing the traffic counts, so seeing the traffic.
And you did in fact do traffic counts yourself.
Right, then morning, afternoon.
And I believe, as I looked through this traffic study, you showed that of the various different points you studied, the only intersection that might have any form of what you might call significant delay would be at the corner of College Hill Road and Irvin Road, 52, but that increased delay at that light from this proposed development would only be 8 seconds, going from a level of service A8 to a level of service B16. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And lastly, you looked at some incident reports, and in 5 years within this span of road, because those of us who know the road know that it can be a difficult turn, though, was it determined that the majority of those incidences were further north from this development, actually more towards Fort Road?
And most of them were like single accidents, single vehicle accidents, where it's a collision with a tree, or maybe just getting a little bit off the road.
But again, this would be our proposed intersection, and these that I'm looking at yours show most or all of these 22 incidents in the last 5 years were north of this intersection, correct?
Right, most of them were north or 52 down south.
All right, thank you. So ultimately, it's your determination as a traffic engineer that this proposed development, even at the maximum proposed, would not materially impact the level of service on that road. All right, thank you. Thank you.
Before you leave, did you say your qualification is a traffic engineer?
Yeah, I'm a professional engineer in the state of Kentucky, and also have a certification that's professional traffic operations engineer. That's a PTOE, but I've had that certification for about 7 years. And that's through Institute of Transportation Engineers in Washington.
Go ahead.
How many days did you, go down there and count traffic and stuff like that?
Yeah, we counted at Urban Road, 52, College Hill, and then I counted more closely,
How many days?
2 separate days.
2 separate days.
Yeah.
What time?
And then, you tell them the peak hours that you studied.
Right, normally we count for about an hour and a half or 2 hours, usually about 7 in the morning to about 8:30 or 9. And then afternoon, like 4 to 6 p.m.
Those are midweek or
Yeah, the
work days.
state recommends counting like a Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday, something more normal time.
And then, Mark, you could add, beyond your own traffic study, then the state keeps their estimated traffic counts that you can always take your study and compare that to in doing your impacts, correct?
Yeah.
And attached to this traffic impact study that I'll make as one of our exhibits, all of these exhibits that I put forward, I'll put for record, is Mark's, his certifications and his experiences, as a professional engineer.
Can you show us where the intersection is, where your planned intersection right now with, the road going up through there, College Hill Road is that it where the area is?
It'd be right, yeah, Bert, it'd generally be about right there.
And it'll be a lane coming in and a lane going out, right? Is that what you
So
said?
this, depending on the number of lots, it could be as many as 2 lanes coming out, but more than 50 lots. Depending on the development plan, you like to have left and right turn lane coming out.
And,
And 1 lane in the entrance.
so it could be as many as 4 lanes right there.
It could be 3.
3, okay.
Though not separate entrances, just lanes within
Lanes
within the entrance, so we're not gonna have several different points of ingress and egress there, obviously that's a narrow road frontage. And as you all know, these are all questions that we're happy to get into, because you all do require concept to be shown to you, and we wanna think that through. But any of those sort of real specific questions would come back to you all in the development plan. Thank you, good, unless they have any other questions for me.
You say they were not going to connect to the sewer, or they did?
They're hopeful, their intention would be to, but now once you get into the numbers, once you get into the amount of lots, the soil, they choose to go septic. But their intention is to sewer it, and they've been shown that sewer capacity can be brought to the property. And I think people familiar with, Bruce particularly is familiar with Wakefield Heights, and having done some sewer type, some work over there, and some of the issues in the area. So it'll be an engineering decision and a cost decision, but the plan would be, since sewer has been brought out that way, to take sewer to the property. But again, that'll be the next step.
Where is sewer located on this map, do you know?
52 is.
At 52?
Pump station down there, yeah.
So it's all the way down to Urban Road then.
Not quite that far, but it's in that 4-way area there, between Waco Loop and 52.
This particular zoning and the homes that we want to build here, septic would certainly be an option. Though, yeah, I think any time that you can get reliable sewer at an effective rate, we try to do it. So, just like that's generally the proof that's presented to you tonight, which is a little bit more detailed, but very substantially similar to what was brought to you a year or so ago. And it is that this property has very intentionally been put into your urban corridor and identified for potential development. It's single family, directly across the street, so this complements the neighborhood. This area of Wakefield College Hill is still primarily agriculture, as in most of the county, but this particular section close to Urban Road has become more of a residential community. And it certainly would fit here to have more single-family residential. Wouldn't be offensive to the neighborhood, and you all certainly thought it was appropriate last time. I think again, having been identified by urban corridor next to single-family, staff calling it potential mixed use, which would be commercial and single-family. The issues that were raised at the fiscal court. Those questions came without the benefits of the traffic impact study done here today, without the benefits of knowing that the school will be moving away from the area, and without the benefits of just a little more time to think through the project. And so I think with another recommendation approval from you all, we certainly would be able to convince the fiscal court this time around, hopefully that this doesn't conform with your comprehensive plan. And I would say particularly it conforms with your comprehensive plan goal 5 of provide a range of housing opportunities, looking for affordable housing options, encourage new residential development in areas that currently provide or have planned to provide adequate transportation access and infrastructure. And again, here we didn't point out, but we know this is very close to the Wakefield Fire Department. There's water capacity and potentially, if desired, sewer capacity nearby. So this is residential development near your infrastructure. We certainly know that housing stock attracts businesses and investment in the community, as your comprehensive plan calls for. And then I would say also, your comprehensive plan identifies the areas of East 52, particularly east of the Army Depot, of being potential growth considerations for the future. And I think that's part of the reason that that comprehensive plan was changed to do just that. So, be happy to answer any questions. Certainly would like an opportunity to provide any rebuttal. I see we've got some members of the community here that want to speak. It's not usually my experience, having been done this a long time, that they're here to support me. So, if I could just have an opportunity to close and after they speak, but please, if any more questions I could answer for the board.
Do you have a letter from the Northern Madison County Sanitation District there from the water?
That's correct.
Can you make that part of the record and submit that?
Yeah, thank you, Jubal. I've got the traffic study. I've got a letter from Northern Madison County Sanitation District, from Madison County Utilities District. Then, while it's a part of your public record, since I had speaking about it, future land use map, that there's a corridor, a zoning map that shows our property adjacent to a single-family neighborhood, and then just a site map that shows the property generally, and then our proposed concept is already in the record with our application. Again, that's conceptual, but I would like to point out, no matter how we end up doing it, I think one thing that would be attractive and keep it to the look of the existing community is that small road frontage requires you to run a road with some larger lots up front, and then as you get back further, you can add a little bit more density in the back away from the road, so you don't have a lot of your development right up on the road. It's going to, the development would be further back in the road, and then just the contours of the property gives the opportunity to still have some green space that would be beneficial to future neighbors there. So,
I do have one question.
yes, sir.
You mentioned College Hill Road, Pike Road, and Flint Road. Are those other roads that have access to this property?
Not that I'm aware of. I took that off of the PDA and the deed descriptions. It doesn't have an address in the PDA, and the PDA identifies it as College Hill Road, Fork Road, Flint Road. So I'm guessing that these different tracks have been, over time, come from other tracks that may have had those connections. To my knowledge, there's not any direct road access. Bruce, do you know? Yeah, I don't believe
Mr. Thomas said that he didn't think it was any.
Yeah, no, I think that there were probably old parent tracks that this came from that maybe did, and that's the way the PDA is identifying it, and since they didn't give an address, I just was trying to describe it the best I could based on how the PDA describes it.
It's not a county address, but the address on the phone.
That's all you have?
That's all I have for now.
Okay, all right.
Thank you.
Some of you all came in tonight, I saw you all greeting each other and things like that. I think all of your neighbors, is there a spokesperson for the group, or are you doing this individually, or? Individually, okay. All right, let me see a show of hands, that anyone wants to speak. Looks like maybe 4 or 5, okay. Ma'am, I'll take you first. Please raise your hand. And, well, let me give you your address.
Alice Francis Quick, 5513 Pike Road, West Dallas.
You raise your hand. Swear to tell the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
So help me God.
Thank you.
I have several. First of all, on the KRS 100.212, it says we will be notified within 14 days of this meeting. We received our notification on the 11th day, and we have neighbors that never ever got notification. So they can't come to this meeting because they didn't know about it until we told them. And I have my proof as to when it arrived. So it does not follow the law.
And it's the date that it's postmarked.
Pardon?
It's the date that it's postmarked.
Well, it came certified mail. It didn't come on the same day.
That's the date it's postmarked.
So our neighbor that lives in Nashville, or works in Nashville, if he didn't get it until this week, he couldn't have possibly come. That's not very fair. But
We did follow the KRS for all our time.
I think you all know that.
in the law, it does not say the date received or the date made to be the one. The law. So, anyway, on page 2, number 8,
This is KRS.
no, this is the notification about this block, this development. It's being changed to single-family homes, but on page 2, number 8, I'd like a clarification because it says single-family dwelling, but then it has something in addition to that. It says attached single-family, it could be attached single-family home, multi-family home, or senior housing.
So man, what they're doing is they're quoting a comprehensive plan that suggests that's the type of housing that would go in an area, but a UC1 classification is only single family, that's all they can put there.
Okay. My question is what is considered a small development and a large development? If Waco Heights has, I don't know, 50 homes,
So our land use regulations break subdivision plats down by minor subdivision plats, which are 3 tracts or less, or major subdivision plats, which are 4 tracts or more. That's the only distinction between the level of subdivision.
okay, so 192
Would
is
be
considered
considered
small,
major subdivision.
major. Okay. And if there's 192 lots on
You have to understand,
70,
those 192 lots, as Mr. Word said, that's a constant, that's just an idea.
okay, well, I was going by the math.
Right, now that, again, that's just a conceptual drawing that the planning commission required, so they can get a view of how the subdivision might look. That doesn't necessarily mean that's what the end product would be.
Okay, so
Worst case.
with that, let's say that it is 192 lots, on 70 acres, that means that it is not a half-acre lot, and that it must be getting a sewer system there, because you have to have an acre lot to have septic system,
Yeah,
correct?
Mr. Word said that they hadn't made that decision yet.
Okay? So the map that was posted really doesn't mean anything to us.
Well, it's to you, but that's not being voted on. That map is not being voted on. That's not being approved at all.
Well, it means a lot to me when it adjoins my property.
Yeah.
That
Well, I
means
said
a lot
anything
to
to
me.
you, I said, it may or may not mean something to you, but that's not what's being voted on, so I think it's important for you to know. They're not approving 20 lots or 192 lots, they're not approving lot sizes, they're approving a zoning change.
Okay? From his description, it sounded like that's what it was gonna be, so that's what I was going by, was what I could see with my eyes and what I heard with my ears. We do have a concern about the school. Yes, the school's gonna be moving in a few years, but there's still gonna be a lot of kids added to the school evidently, so that is a concern. I volunteer at the school, the school's already crowded, so it is a concern to my heart. And I have another question about, do we use a professional urban planner to scope out all of the information to do zoning changes, such as they do in Fayette County or Clark County?
I'm sure I understand your question.
There are professional urban planners that take into consideration.
So we did, when we redid our comprehensive plan and our land use regulations, the county did hire a professional consultant to help us with that process, yes.
But they're not used as a
They're not county
consultant
employees.
now,
They're not county employees, no.
and we don't use that as a consultant of any kind.
They picked the comprehensive plan, they helped determine what area was the comprehensive plan, so they were involved in that.
But they're not involved in any other potential growth.
I would say only if we enlarge the comprehensive plan area,
Okay.
they might be then, but I don't know.
Okay. Those are what I want to clarify, and if it's still.
Did you get all your questions answered?
No, because
Which one did you get?
again, what I saw printed as a map and of the lots, and what you're saying is two different things, so no, that's not a very good clarification to me.
When you talk about what you saw,
The 192 lots
this was the first one that was submitted.
was the one that was just shown.
This is conceptual only, this is not what we're voting on, that's just a conceptual idea of what they can do now that they have sewer. That is just a conceptual idea, we're not voting on that.
Okay,
It is just an idea of now that there is sewer, 2.5 years later, there's sewer out there, now they can have the potential of doing 192 lots. But we
Let's
aren't
be clear,
voting.
the sewer's not there yet.
Sewer's not.
And that decision's not been made whether, so it would be at the expense of the developer to run sewer to this property. And he'll have to decide at some point, which he doesn't want to spend the money for that engineering and all that extra work that would be required, unless he knows whether or not the area is even appropriate for single-family residences. I think what you're seeing there is a maximum potential capacity if everything works out just perfectly. I know there's some areas of that property that probably have sinkholes. There's some areas of it that are very low that may not be suitable for development. So until he gets out there and actually starts moving dirt and developing this thing, he won't know how many lots he'll end up being. So what you're looking at there is just an idea or a concept of what could potentially happen. But again, this board, the only thing they're voting on tonight is whether or not that area is suitable for single-family residences. That's all.
So in the future, will it come back to say, will we be notified as to how many there's gonna be and how much it'll impact
Probably
my
not.
land?
No.
That's my question, and that's why I'm here.
It would come back.
It would come back, but you wouldn't get a notification in the form
I
of
know.
a public hearing. At that point, it would be, they would just have to meet the regulations, what the regulations say as far as the density, the number of houses per acre or whatever, and then this board is just reviewing to say whether or not they meet those regulations.
Okay, I understand that, but I need y'all to understand that we bought a farm in 1983 because we wanted to be on a farm and not in a subdivision or close to a subdivision. So, you know, that's why it touches our hearts and that's why we're here.
Thank you. I think we'll see some more hands. Who's next may have a different, concern? See, one here have a different, yes, ma'am. Please state your name and address you right now.
Jenny Stevens, 14 Pine Grove Road.
Okay, please raise your right hand. Swear to tell the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth. Go ahead, ma'am.
First of all, I just want to ask a question again. So if you pass this tonight, and Mr. Coe goes in there and puts in the, register money, then everything is conducive to 192 lots, then we'll have 192 lots there, is that correct?
If we pass it today, he goes to fiscal court to learn, they have to make a decision on whether or not the zone's changed or not. They have to have 2 hearings, right, for
So the planning commission makes a recommendation
I understand that.
to the fiscal court, and the
I'm
fiscal court
saying
has,
it passes.
has 2 readings. If they pass it, then the developer will do his engineering work, he'll do his site layout, he'll do everything that's involved in a major subdivision. He'll bring it back to this board before he starts construction to get their approval on his, what the view no longer be a concept, it'll actually be what we call a preliminary plat.
Correct, so then if it's, his concept is 192, once you pass this, goes through all the stages, then he can come in with his plan, and he's on with it, he can have 192 homes.
If it met all the county, prerequisites, all the regulations for that kind of development.
So he has 192 homes, and that, and two. So that's not considered a large subdivision?
It's already less than require multiple entrances.
Okay, so residential development here says must include more than one vehicular entrance for large subdivisions. To promote
So
property.
there's extra, yes, that extra lane.
No, it's not enough. So this is incorrect, and it says
I don't know what you're reading out, I don't say something incorrect, I actually. To me, the way I read that is that ingress and egress would be the number of lanes.
That's not what that says. I'm just saying, that's not what it
That's my
says.
interpretation.
And that's just my interpretation is you should have 2 entrances in there according to the, that's on page 21 in residential development. Now, I am more concerned, I don't live on Cowboy, I people that live here. But I'm more concerned about your major block 52. accidents or anything, I don't know that, but I travel. When grandkids travel, kids travel.
Speak of this a little bit,
I said Highway 52,
yes.
all right, it's a very busy road. And it's a very dangerous road, especially where the depot is. And you got people coming down and trying to get in that left lane right there at the end, what the traffic's like. I don't know if you know the road or not, but it's well. So, it's at probably 4:30 to 5:36, but you're not ready to go home, all right? If I need something, I live in Body, so if I need something, and I might get stuck in that traffic, I go to S County and purchase what I need. And they're getting money. Because I can't go to Richmond and back in less than 2 hours because of that traffic. Same thing in the mornings, all right? If you get at a certain time, say around 7:30 from Marbley, where the shell is, all the way back to the curve there at the Muddy Creek Bridge, it's back up. Right? The lights, there's no turning lanes there for the right? So if someone's turning left, none of us going towards Richmond can move until that car turns left. So it's a hazard. Now you have a school being built there on Speedway Road. And there's no turning lanes. And when I called the school, Chris Clark, and asked him how they talk to the state transportation, the county, or anybody about what our traffic congestion is going to be when we put the school there on Speedway there at Marley. So it's only a 2-lane road, and there's no turn lanes. And he said that wasn't their concern, and it's like everything. All they're concerned about is there's an entrance into the school.
Can you say anything to the Kentucky Highway
Yes.
Department about this?
Yes.
What they say?
It's a 6-year plan. And so, yes, it's a 6-year plan, and I think they're trying to find a way to at least get turning lanes in there. Shane Tucker, I thought Tim's my nephew from there, so yeah, I call and get on him all the time, all right? Rice used to be able to see that, hey, you know, let's 4 cars through, and then it's wrecked, all right? So it's a very dangerous. So, so you got a school coming there that's for 500 kids. I got my notes here. So we're building a new school. There's 458 kids in the Waco school right now. You put 192 homes on that property and say a fourth of them has 48 children. So out of 192 homes, you have 48 children. So automatically, you're over capacity, right? 2, we're not even talking about yet, you're still developing family homes property, and you're still developing all that property there in Marbley, and we're not allowing for the infrastructure. That's what I'm upset about. We're putting all these houses in without roads to get people home, without roads to get people to school, without roads to get people to work. I get up early in the morning, go to church at 6 o'clock in the morning. Why? Because I don't want to get stuck in all the traffic. When I was driving my grandson to Central, we left at 5 minutes till 7 because we didn't want to get stuck in that traffic. Because we got stuck in that traffic, he's going to be late for school. And then when we come home, we go back roads. That's getting very hard too. But I'm just saying, you know, I love people that own property and they want to do what they want to with it. But they also need to have consideration for their neighbors. And we need to have consideration for people who have to live out there like that. That we need to get home. We like to live down in the rural area. And probably most people would bat an eye with a few houses back in there. But we know there's going to be 192 houses. And College Hill can't handle that. 52 can't handle that. Waco School cannot handle that. And it's destroying a community is what you're doing. You're taking us and misinterpreted. Also, my understanding reading here that we wanna put houses where there's employment opportunities. There are no employment opportunities at Waco except the Dollar General store. So everybody that lives out there is gonna have to go to Richmond and go to Lexington. I know there's opportunities in Madison County. You can go to Lexington. It's not like they're gonna go left and go to Essex County, because Essex County doesn't have anybody. So we gotta take into consideration, the only way people have to get out of Essex County is 52. So we had, with all the new subdivisions that have gone in at Marbley, I don't know what the name of it is, that's one and all that. And then you got Essex County, and then you got 192, so then when you put 192 there, oh, well, we got 192 there, let's put 192 else somewhere else. Because that's what we do every time, well, we have a subdivision here, so we put one subdivision in, let's put a lot of subdivisions. What's happened with this comprehensive plan, we have taken small communities and hardworking people, and I think we have put money and what we call a comprehensive plan about people. And these are people here who love their homes, love where they live, and we all, 90% of us know each other, and we take care of each other, and you're destroying your community. Now, I live, like I say, I live far away from there, my parents live right there. I take care of them, and then my sister lives right there, so I have to take care of her. So you're making, you make this decision, and once you approve it, he's free to build 192 homes.
The fiscal court's got to approve it. We make a recommendation.
Now, when you make your recommendation and the fiscal court approves it,
Yes.
as far as I know, we only have one person that voted against it. I don't know if he's going to be nice, we don't get against it. But because you approve it, they're going to vote for it, I know that. So I'm just saying, if you approve it, then we are going to have. We don't have John Cooper. And we don't have, several more on there, we don't have them anymore.
Would you have anything else besides the state highway?
Let's see, I did have one, and the entrance down. I did have a school, I called Waco School, the new school's being built for 500 children. And we have 458.
You said that the state told you that they had a 6-year plan on upgrading 52 College Hill Road, or what they think?
It's 6 years down the road, so 6 years down the road doesn't mean.
College Hill?
No, 52. So, yeah, so it's gonna be 6 years before, yeah, I don't think they'll ever improve College Hill, I don't think they'll ever improve any of those roads, so. But yes, the state, College Hill is a state road too, and they never talk about that, but, 52, but you got a problem there, you got a bridge, you got Muddy Creek Bridge, and that's the reason they have gotten in no hurry to expand the road. That's the reason it was only expanded to the depot. Alright, and I think you're from out Waco, or Mr. You know how that is. Yes, it's at certain times of the day, it's very dangerous to go. Alright, but yeah.
Do you have anything else?
Other than the economic and the offensive plan, we don't have any business stuff. We don't have anything to employ anybody else. So you're bringing 192 people with no employment opportunities, which is part, I think, of the conference. We just have some little mom and pop shops out there. So, anyway, that's all I gotta say. I love my phone, and I love these people I know, and I know that's me, I do. And I sell my farm and let somebody else put another one in. With Essex County and something development. Thank you though.
Thank you. Before I recognize anyone else in the audience, I'd like to have Mr. Roy come back up and address those two issues, if you don't mind.
Which particular two, Mr. Chairman, the one with the highway, the state highway 52 question, first to start with, I would say one, the state highway traffic engineer's 6-year plan does not mean it will be 6 years. That means that is the projects that State Highway Traffic Engineering wants to get funded and provide for within the 6-year time period. So there are projects in the 6-year plan, for instance, going out, on the other side of the county, in Baltimore Road, that are currently in the design process now. Because that means they're in the 6-year plan, and they'll get them done in those 6 years. That being said, I would, to speak directly to it, most of, I believe, I understood the concerns Ms. Stevens raised there, dealt with 52 further west back towards town, and issues around modeling speed and related to the school. What the traffic engineering study that we put forward today, and what Mark was telling me about, is the intersection of College Hill and 52 will not be materially affected by this project. If there are certain delays there, certain backups now, they're going to be exactly the way they are, they're not going to be worse. So,
Yeah, you don't drive there.
So again, when you look at these projects and you look at their effects on roads, we know that a potential 192 homes would produce more traffic. But everybody doesn't leave at the same time. Everybody doesn't drive the same way. And the roads are designed to have capacity for future growth, and that's part of the reason that you have identified this area as potential for growth when you put it in the urban corridor. Because, and your comprehensive plan particularly talks about identifying proximity back towards Richmond and the interstate, proximity to urban and Ravenna, and why this would be an important place for growth. So again, the state highway issue, the state highway traffic engineer will address issues that they see. They have plans in their 6-year plan for things. And for instance, that light at Urban Road and College Hill, if it does back up, we say that a potential 8 seconds. If that becomes untenable, the state highway traffic engineer changes the time of that light. And we'll make improvements. So again, this is a modest development, even at its full capacity, that I don't think will have any effect on 52, regardless of what problems or perceptions there may be about 52 as it is. And I think, just since it's been brought up twice, and I think you all stated it well, but for my client's sake and for the record, yes, if sewer can be brought to that property economically to where it doesn't change the affordability of a potential home there and the development, there's a potential to build more homes there. And we've showed you a concept that could be the max that you could see. It may be less, it may be a lot less. It may, your all's procedures say, show us a concept. And in all candor, we wanted to show you, well, this will be our best day as a developer if we could get it done. That doesn't mean that necessarily will be what it is, but if it is, that's what we used for our traffic impact study, is what that 492 would be. So again, we don't know how many homes will be there. If you all recommend approval, this report ultimately grants that approval and changes the law. We've got to come back to you all and show you that this is what we can build. This is the amount of sewer we're willing to bring to the property or can. This section of the property just can't be sewer, it would have to be septic. There are all sorts of things that would be the next several stages of this process. But, I'm representing the developer. He'd like to build as much as he can build there. But he wants to be respectful to the neighborhood and the community, as he has been in a lot of the work that he's done over the Heights too. So he knows the area. So those are the two main concerns. And I think the other one, Mr. Chairman, she talked about the school system. It's not, we have a lot of different jurisdictions that handle a lot of different issues in the community. And the school board plans the capacity of those schools. And certainly they're not going to spend the money to build a new school that couldn't handle what they see as growth in the area. They're going to build a school that can service the families and children that live in the area now and the future growth of the families and children that can be there. So the only real issue for you all, and not even necessarily at this stage of zone change, but as we go on with development plans, would be if there were a school up there that caused some sort of development problem, like had too much adverse traffic. And we know that the potential problem is moving away from this area. So, but those I think were the concerns at this point. And I know there's others, so I won't go on and on. But unless there's a specific question that I didn't answer.
Do y'all have any questions for Mr. Ward before? Okay, thank you.
This isn't the urban corridor, this property.
It is, the very back left corner of it.
Yeah, how far up College Hill, is the urban corridor as way that last been run, runs 52, kind of, is that right?
Kind of follows 52, right?
How far up,
Very, very.
how far up College Hill Road does it go?
Goes just past this property.
So this is sort of the edge of
Six
the
hundred
road.
feet.
Between this property and Flint Road,
Okay,
so here's Flint Road, here's the property, and there's our court.
so further up College Hill Road wouldn't have the same kind of
If you
consideration.
got much further past this property, you'd be out of the urban corridor.
Yeah.
That's right.
A place where growth is not encouraged anywhere.
Bert, what was the year that we completed the comprehensive plan update?
141.
2021. Okay, so it should be before this was heard the first time.
It was.
This was heard in August 2022. I went back to my emails. They're saying
Oh, it's 2022.
it's August 22 is when they did the first time.
Okay, someone else have something different? Yes, sir.
Brett Markham. I'm at 166 College Hill Road and adjacent to the proposed development.
Okay, please raise your right hand. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth.
I do.
Thank you, sir. Go ahead.
My concern is, since I'm adjacent, the security of my property. I've got 192 people there. I have trouble with people entering my farm without permission right now. Theft has gone up. More people move in. It's concerning. And then the second concern I have is being able to farm. How many people, they're not gonna like noise, smells, things that happen on a farm. And, it's hard to limit your farm anyway. And don't like that. It's happened, I've had to defend my right to do what I did before. And then thirdly, I want to address traffic. I think the traffic engineer is right. I don't think that will impact College Hill, Red Lake there at the 5E, or the BP station at all. Because the problem is the Moberly intersection that we all have to drive to and from work, to get home. If I leave Lancaster Road at 3:30, I can get home in 25 minutes. If I leave Lancaster Road at 5, I get home at 6:15. Because the Red Light and Moberly Shell station backs up past the dollar store. With everybody going home. You had 192 homes there. Let's assume that at least half of them work every day. That's 85 people. And probably half of the remaining also work, so add another 40 people. That's 120 people going to and from work. At 10 foot a car, that's almost an extra half mile of cars on that road. Backed up at that red light at Mark. I think the traffic analysis was done at the wrong position. There was a flaw in planning of the analysis. The impact will be of all the people having to go to and from work, because they're not going to work in Estill County. They're going to work in Richmond or Lexington. And I understand development has to occur, but working 12 miles from my home, and it takes me more than an hour and 15 minutes to get home, is frustrating. I mean, it's a living. If I can get off, my mom won't stop down at 3:30. If I can get off at 3:30 and I can rush home, I'm home. But if I miss it, it's been, for me, the mornings aren't too bad because I leave really early. But there's still a lot of traffic in the morning. They really fixed it when they added 2 turn lanes on from 52 on the bypass. That helped tremendously.
Have you contacted the state highway department and voiced your concerns with 52?
I have not. You know,
Because we have no jurisdiction whatsoever over the state.
Right.
We can't even decide whether the.
But you can decide, you do have the ability to decide whether the zoning change occurs. And if the zoning change doesn't occur, there won't be 192 people there.
So you're saying we should shut the whole 52 down until that is fixed?
No, I didn't say that. I said this development shouldn't be approved.
Okay. I think that's all you got, sir?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Have time for one more? Is anyone,
Basically, I've just got a question.
I think I need to, I swear you in.
Read your King, 5165 Pike Road.
Please raise your right hand. Swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Thank you, sir. Go ahead.
My question is, we went through this 2 years ago, and you guys approved it, went to the fiscal court, they said no. The infrastructure's not there, it's too dangerous, we're not doing it. Okay, so why are we back here again? Is my question. Why are we coming back to you guys? Fiscal court already said no. They're the stewards of the county, they said it's not a good thing, it's not a good fit, they don't need it in Waco. So why are we back here again, seeing you guys?
Mr. McKinney, how you doing?
Good, how you
I mean, not to be trite, but we're here because someone filed an application for a change. And that's why it can be considered.
So when fiscal court says no, we're not doing it, they can come back the next day and we can start this process over and over and over and over. Is that what we're looking at?
If they can file the application that they have, this report can turn it down again, that's a great argument. What's changed would be,
I mean, the only thing they got a different guy telling a different story.
yeah, I mean, but to answer your question, this application is proper.
So we can.
You can't do it forever, you can't do it every year.
So what is the,
This one falls within
is it a time thing? Is it, you 3 strikes and you're out? Does anybody?
See, when you change the zoning map, it's an ordinance, it's like passing a law. And just like you could ask for any law to be changed,
He asked and the fiscal court said no. So why is it not going back to the
Again, I
fiscal
don't know,
court?
yeah, I understand you don't like that you can do it again, or that it's actually a different person asking for the change, and it's a slightly different application.
Well,
But the reason you can is because it's a
the
lot.
guy had an option on the property, same
Yeah,
guy,
yeah.
basically, so I know a little bit about what's going on here. So we can just continue this every year.
But, I think that at some point, if this one was to get turned down as well, I think at some point in future potential possible developers or property owners are gonna say, no, they don't want that there, I'm not gonna keep getting told no, but probably not at that point yet, because like I say, we have a different owner, we have a different application, a different applicant who believes that, maybe the circumstances have changed, in their opinion, and that'll be for this board, for the fiscal court to decide. Okay?
Mr. Gordon, please come back up, you're gonna rebuttal that, please.
Thank you, if I can speak to it, was it McKinney?
Yes.
Yes, thank you, sir. Speak directly to that. One, to this question, can we just keep coming back? You all are probably aware that if the legislative body, not just this body, the legislative body, the fiscal court votes down a zone change, you have to wait at least 1 year to bring back the substantially same zone change. You can bring the same property back the next day if you were completely different. But if you're gonna bring something that's materially the same, you have to wait a year. And it has been well over a year since that was done. And so, I mean, he asked a very pointed question, I think it's fair, why are we back again and what's different? And the proposal is substantially the same, and that's why I believe this body that recommended approval at that time should recommend approval again, because the standards that you all look at, the standards you're concerned about, you believed it met the comprehensive plan at that time, and I believe it still does. The difference is, the fiscal court did not, in 22 or early 23, whenever it got to them, they did not say this property was not suitable for development. They did not say that this property wasn't suitable for single-family development. At the time, Magistrate Tudor raised some very specific traffic-related questions, and that ended up related in a lawsuit, and it went round and round, and that's neither here nor there. What is different is now, we have a traffic impact study that directly rebuts some of the data that was used at the time, explains that even the data that was correct at that time is explainable as really no different than any other rural street in the community. It's not that this particular stretch of street is any more dangerous or less dangerous than any other street. It has traffic impacts on it. People do have accidents, there are delays, no doubt about it, but now we have an impact study that explains that that's not unsafe, and that's not a problem. And at the time, the magistrate was concerned because he didn't have that in his hands. We also have something different now that, at the time, there was a lot of discussion about the school and how that impacted the traffic. We know that the school is moving. So, for your all's purposes, this is a good project, or a good, I shouldn't even say project, because we're not to that phase yet. This was an appropriate zone change. You all determined that this property was suitable for single-family development, according to your comprehensive plan, which is your standard today. When that got to the fiscal court, it was questioned that they probably should have accepted your in the court system, it was questioned that they should have accepted your recommendation. Ultimately, again, that's neither here nor there. A specific concern was raised that affected the fiscal court's vote. If you all recommend approval again tonight, same as you did 2 years ago, we will need to go and explain to the fiscal court how that concern has been addressed. And the fact that we've waited a year is required by law to bring back the same thing. This is substantially similar, but we have answers to those questions. So then, here tonight, the comprehensive plan is the same, the property is the same, the justifications are the same, and so I would hope your recommendation would be the same, and that would be approval. And then you will know that approval will go to that recommendation will go to the fiscal court with us able to answer questions that were not able to be answered at that time. And so, I think again, this does meet your comprehensive plan, we appreciate approval tonight, and then we'll address those questions raised by the fiscal court, and then we get to come back to you all, and while these neighbors may not get public notice, it will be in a public meeting where anybody is capable of coming here in the discussion, that we'll talk about all this issue, about how many homes we can fit in there, and what the roads look like, because this all will come back to you all for that more detailed discussion. So again, thank you. Ask your recommended approval just as you did 2 years ago, knowing full well that it is, like I said, same kind of plan, same project, and same property, and we can answer some questions that the fiscal court had back then if they still have them today. So,
I do have a question on it. Yes, go ahead.
So this being the same material as the last request, that did not include the concept for the 192 potential. I know this is all changing, this is a good thing. That was not included in the last package. Is that a fair statement, Bert?
There would have been a concept included, but I don't remember exactly what it showed.
But that was based on 1 acre lot concept, right?
There was a discussion of sewer back then too. So I don't remember.
Anything about the density being this.
I don't remember what that concept was and where it got turned down.
I'm afraid so.
No, it was not an acre.
1 per acre.
It was not.
You're saying.
It was the same as what they have right now. They were saying 200 and some houses,
And
possibility
every
of so many houses.
I don't have that concept, and I'm sure I can track it down, it's probably somewhere in the public record. It was similar, to my knowledge. Now, it may not have, I don't know exactly whether it was more dense or less dense.
We're only going to be 1 acre lot back then, we wouldn't have been having a conversation about sewer. And another came up last year. Well, I think it's a similar concept, I don't know about the 192 number, but maybe they laid it out a little different.
I was thinking last time they were locked in on 1 house.
If I remember, and I don't want to, add additional testimony back and forth, but Bruce, this is pretty similar to what was put forward last time, but you added some green space and changed some stuff
You'll have to
around.
come up here if you want to ask
Yeah.
something.
I just want a confirmation of that. We don't need to get back into that, but he's tried to put something together that was pretty substantially similar to that last.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll do that.
That's it.
Thank you, sir. Okay, any questions or comments comments, any commissioners have? Not being on the floor for a motion.
I'll make a motion based upon the evidence presented and pursuant to KRS chapter 100 and the testimonies given regarding the proposed land use change request. And I make the motion to approve the land use change from C7 and R7 to UC1 based on the evidence and finding the facts that was presented today.
Okay, have a motion to approve, there's a second to the motion. Have a motion second, any further discussion?
Is it okay? Did you use something else?
We usually want to state our reasons, when is approving.
I will,
Criteria.
just like I did 2.5 years ago, it is in the comprehensive plan. Every plan, the comprehensive plan says that this is an area that we deem as appropriate. The fact it is across the street from, another residential. Also, it is an appropriate zone change and it should be. Is that okay?
So does your second say that?
Yes, and there's also, a sheet of proposed findings.
There are,
Maybe-
but we'll go for a motion.
We have a motion and a second, any further discussion?
I'd like to say something, okay? And I don't know if it's appropriate, I know there's nothing that I'm gonna say to you today that's gonna make you all leave and go, woo-hoo, this is good, I know that, okay? But I wanna make sure that I'm real clear, we do know how you feel about this, we know that you have your properties, we know you have your farms, and every person that's ever owned a farm had in their mind that it's gonna stay a farm forever. And most of those farms might not be your kids or your grandkids, your great-grandkids, but eventually it's not a farm and it becomes developed. And we all have that little bit of hurt. We all live in Kentucky because we love this. I understand how you feel about traffic. I moved back here because I lived in Tampa and had to leave home at 6 o'clock in the morning to get 11 miles to work before 7:30. And I hated that. And that's one of the reasons I moved back to Kentucky. I wanted to raise my kids in a place that we had room to do that. But the world is changing and people are growing and we need places to live. And if we don't have planning and zonings and we don't have a plan, it becomes crazy. And the corridor says this is where it's going to be. I realize schools, one of the things I've learned by being on this committee is government's reactionary. The state gets really crowded, that road gets crowded, that's when instead of a 6-year plan, it becomes a 3-year plan. They send money to the squeaky wheels. So the more people, they're never gonna build the road going one day it's gonna develop. We're never gonna build a school twice the size we need because one day there may be more people there. But when there's more kids that need to be educated, that's when they start adding on and doing that. That's what I've learned by being on here and being a bigger part of this, is the reaction. Every concern that you have is reasonable. But if we're real honest with ourselves, anybody that's willing to, I'm a lot like Bill. I was kind of thinking last year when I voted to approve this, that we were talking 1-acre tracts. And this year we're talking 1/4 acres. And the best thing that I can do for you is to give you single-family residential area down there, because in 2 years, you might be having somebody coming in looking for multiple HUD. And then you got multifamily, instead of 192 neighbors, you have 300. Because it is in the urban corridor set up to have single, multifamily, and commercial. The best thing you can have to keep Waco looking like it is some homes, single-family homes, instead of duplexes and multifamily. So that's where my heart is, and I feel like the best thing I can do for you is to approve this, and I hope the rest of the board does the same, and the magistrates. Thank you for listening to me.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Got all the discussion? If so, how to vote?
Doug Fritz,
Yes.
Brian Adams, Mary Alford,
Yes.
Susan Candy, Ken Jenkins,
Yes.
Ron Paul.
Yes. I have the recommendation of the commission that
I don't have anything other than the department update. What is, this might be our last meeting here. So I have training next month. So we probably will not have a business session next month. That's something, Preston comes up and that, I might have to zoom in, but, it's supposed to be done next month. Yes, next month, which means in May, hopefully we'll be in our newspaper, I'll tell you, I know that. It might have to be a special call meeting, because we're set up for June, I think, this year. And we adopted our meeting schedule, June, so to change that, we'd have to do that in business session. We'll work out those details, yeah.
No doubt.
I like those. Somebody So that, I just trying to give y'all an update on that.
What about the continuing education?
Yeah, I think we gotta do that this year.
That's what you said.
Plus, we have a new member that needs to go, so, everybody good with going to Frankfurt like we usually do?
What month is it?
I don't know what month it is, it'll be later in the year. But I'll try to get that set up, same for, I'll put the lid in charge of it. Alright,
Yes.
so Chris?
Yes.
Kenny?
Yes.
Kenny?
Yes.
Ryan?
Yes.
Rob?
Yeah.